So here's the electric Prius wrap from 2004 all the way to 2009. They're all the same. 2009 and up, they all change. You don't want those. What we have here is the complete stock one, and there is another Prius rack taken apart. How do we take it apart? Right in here is a C clip you got to take off, and then you can hammer this whole unit out. So this slides off once you hammer it out. This part here, it's built into the actual rack. So we cut that with a grinder to get this sleeve off of it. This actually slides in and out, which this is the steering wheel piece here. It also slides off. We're not going to use this. We're not going to use this. And we're not going to use this. Here's the Accord column completely stripped. Took the ignition off, took off the clock spring with the turn signals and all that. So now what we're going to do is same thing. Take off the C-clip from here. Try to remove this whole shaft. Cut this part of the shaft off where this U-joint goes. And then we're going to try to cut this one and weld this one onto this. That way the motor's here. And then back here it's got mounting points. I'll make a bracket that'll bolt into here and screw on into the column part. That way the motor doesn't move when you turn the wheel. And after this part is welded to this U-joint, luckily the Prius comes in pieces. We're going to cut this part off and use this U-joint, because this U-joint will bolt on to the factory threads on the motor for the Prius. So we're going to use this part so it could screw on. Cut it here. We won't use that part. Then we could use the Accord shaft wherever we need this part. We'll measure the difference from the Accord. It goes 16.5 inches from the knuckle on the steering rack to this U-joint. So we'll compensate the difference taking this part that we need to weld it onto this U-joint piece, and we should have the difference there. As I said earlier, took off the C-clip from here, used a hammer, tap that out. Obviously I hit it a lot harder and that's already loose. Don't want to mess these threads up, so you want to tap on the nut or the bolt, and then this slides out of it, which is the actual steering column. As you can see, it was longer. We actually cut it because we're going to utilize this portion of it. Then this portion will slide into the Prius rack, which we are going to weld it right down here, and then this will become part of the whole steering column assembly. So now I'm going to TIG weld all this real nice. That way this is the new Accord rack electronically, if you're following it. And this is the part that bolts onto the Accord. Then we reassemble it, slide it back to the back with the motor here, make brackets from the motor to these bolts here so nothing moves once it's in the car. So now what I did was grab the original steering shaft. I cut it because that has the slide that goes into here to slide in and out for the shaft, and I put it into the Accord one, but it wouldn't fit, so I used a press and actually pressed it in the section I cut. So now the Accord shaft actually slides onto the Prius, and now the actual Accord column happens to be the exact length that I needed it to be, which is insane how good this is coming along. Now I could weld the Prius part to the Accord shaft right here, which I'm gonna put a bead of weld on this entire unit, and now it'll actually slide in and out like it's supposed to from factory, which is pretty neat. So now I could use, like I said, the Prius U-joint. I'm gonna cut this section off and put the Accord section on to this U-joint. That way this will bolt into the Accord, and that's it. I'm pretty much done after that. So after lots of cutting, measuring, messing up, finally got it to the exact length that we need on the car, and we ended up welding these two joints together. Unfortunately, it doesn't move up and down like it's supposed to factory, so it's going to be a little tighter to put it in, but you gain some, you lose some. That's just how it goes. Look at this damn dog acting like a freaking pig. And to put it in the car, we had to cut this bottom plastic off. I mean, not really needed, but it was in our way, so we just cut it off. Better than dealing with all that crap. And what we're gonna do here, since we had to trim this piece off on the back side of it because it was hitting the motor, and we reused these. Now we got to mark some holes right here and re-drill them, and then put some rib nuts in there so we could get it mounted and stuff like that. That way it has all 4 bolts. Alright, so now putting on the motor here, the EPS system, we ran into an issue with the brake light switch. As you can see, this bracket used to come right here above the brake pedal, but the U-joint that goes to the EPS system was hitting, so I had to cut the brake pedal that much off, which is about 1.5 inches deep and across. That way it clears it. And then this bracket for the brake light switch was cut off up here. As you can see, the original mounting points right there. Moved over this way, welded into place right there, and put a little angle holding it. So now what I'm doing is I'm gonna put another L bracket so I can push on the switch. It'll come straight like that with a L on it right here. So it'll be a nice L-shaped bracket coming and welded onto the pedal. So when you press the pedal, the brake light switch actually works. So something's never been done on this Accord. This is definitely a first. It took a lot more modifying than I intended. And this is the L bracket. It's gonna go here on the pedal. That way you could press the switch in once you push the brake pedal and when you release it. It's a little long right now. Still got to take a little bit more off, but we rather do this inch or centimeter by centimeter. I'd rather cut 10 times than cut once and it's too short. But that's pretty much it right there. Once we have this, I could tack it onto the pedal right here and take the pedal out, paint all this stuff nice, and assemble the whole car and onto the wiring, and we'll be done finally. And here's the bracket welded into place. As you can see, just like that it works. See if we could get a bottom angle of it actually working. Just like that, we got a working brake pedal switch. So now we'll have brake lights. And now Kevin's taking it all back off for the 122 time, or however many times we've done it. But that's the aggravation part, is taking it off and on, off and on, off and on. But he don't mind, it's his car, and he's gonna have nice electric steering. And this is why we are killing ourselves doing a nice clean job, because eventually this entire car is gonna be nice and shaved, everything. Gonna redo all the hitting brake lines to eliminate the ABS unit and clean up this whole bay nice and shaved. But a little bit at a time. We already eliminated the power steering, relocated the battery, and cleaned it up enough. That's why we're doing electric power steering on this 7th gen Honda Accord. Now we are reassembling everything. So now that we modified and cut a chunk off the steering column, and these are the old mounting points, we're gonna put a bracket from here to this motor, and the opposite from the other side to above, which actually happens to line up perfect. So a nice little L bracket from here to here. And then here we're gonna drill brand new holes on each side and install rib nuts into the chassis side of the car. That way we could pull bolts back in there and the whole steering column will be held them together. And as you can see, brake light switch is all in, everything works. Definitely happy with the outcome so far. This was a nice little challenge that we'd never done before, so it kind of kicked our butt, but it's getting there. All right, so for the module that we have here for the unit, it's actually pretty simple to power up, or to wire up, should I say. You have these 2 main power wires, solid white wires power, white with the black stripe is your main ground source. So we're gonna put an eyelid on here, ground it to the chassis, run the solid power wire with a fuse link to the battery. Then from the motor, the main power source comes into this unit here and a signal here. These 3 wires here were actually shielded, so I cut the shielding off and I took all this off and I put all 3 wires together. These are going to be another ground source, so these also get grounded out. And this single black wire by itself here on the side, This one is going to be your main signal to the key switch. So what we're doing is we're running from the ignition on source to a switch, from the switch to here. That way if you're on the highway driving, we kill the pump. We don't need it to be on at all times. Just sucking up electricity for no reason and have super stop steering in the highway. You could turn it on and off, and however you can do it. However, you can wire straight if you want, just to an ignition source so the pump doesn't stay running. I feel it's best to run it to a switch.